Welcome to the JTV Caribbean News segment. Britain's Foreign and Commonwealth Office has approved the Cayman Islands government's 4-year fiscal plan covering the years 2013-2014 to 2016-2017. United Kingdom's Minister for Overseas Territories Mark Simmons wrote to Cayman Islands Premier Alden McLaughlin giving his approval for the plan, which was submitted on August 15, 2013. The plan outlined the government's global fiscal targets for the next 4 budget years and the strategies that will be employed to achieve them and gain compliance with the fiscal ratios contained in the Public Management and Finance Law. The plan favors an initial aggressive reduction in public sector operating expenditure, significant increases to government's cash reserves, no new borrowings, continued repayment of existing loans, and zero inflationary revenue measures. The plan shows the government as the facilitator of economic growth through its support for various private sector initiatives, does not propose any major capital expansion programs, and is not dependent on any revenue measure packages or silver bullets to be successful. In his letter, Simmons said he welcomed the Cayman government's clear commitment to fiscal planning and to achieving the key debt ratios agreed in the framework for fiscal responsibility by the end of the financial year 2015-2016. The seismic unit of the University of the West Indies Tuesday, August 27 confirmed that an earthquake with a magnitude of 3.9 had rattled several parts of Trinidad, the second tremor to be felt in the Caribbean within a 1-week period. The quake was felt mainly on the outskirts of the capital port of Spain. Last weekend, residents in Antigua and Barbuda were jolted by a quake with a magnitude of 5.1. The seismic unit said that the quake, the second in the past 7 days, had a depth of 30 kilometers and was located east of Barbuda. The first quake on August 17 had a magnitude of 3.8. And Puerto Rico was lightly shaken by a 4.2 magnitude earthquake on Monday, August 26, according to the United States Geological Survey. The quake occurred just 5 kilometers off the coast of Mayaguez, Puerto Rico. It struck at a depth of 23 kilometers. Light shaking was felt as far as San Juan, about 118 kilometers from the epicenter. There were no reports of deaths or injuries as a result of the earthquakes, but UWI officials have been warning Caribbean countries to be prepared for a major quake that could hit the region. The former chairman of one of the 2 indigenous banks in Anguilla taken over by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the ECCB, has confirmed that he is looking at the possibility of taking legal action against the ECCB. Leslie Richardson was the chairman of the Caribbean Commercial Bank Anguilla Limited from April until the takeover 2 weeks ago. The St. Kitts-based central bank assumed control of the CCB and the National Bank of Anguilla on August 12. Chief Minister of Anguilla, Hubert Hughes, in welcoming the development, said he had been concerned about poor management at the country's 2 indigenous banks for some time. However, Richardson says the Caribbean Commercial Bank was unfairly targeted and insists that there were political overtones in that specific takeover. Richardson queried whether the takeover had to do with a planned amalgamation of all the indigenous banks in the OECS sub-region. Richardson said the shareholders are looking at what options they have in relation to taking back control of the Caribbean Commercial Bank. The ECCB said it was, along with experts from the IMF and the World Bank, continuing to work to stabilize, strengthen, and restructure Anguilla's 2 indigenous banks. Japan's government will soon be building a $12 million fisheries complex in Nevis, the island's government announced. The news of the long-awaited project, which will be located in the Bath Village area, was revealed by Agriculture and Fisheries Minister Alexis Jeffers. According to Jeffers, the state-of-the-art facility, which will play a major role in the expansion of the fishing industry on Nevis, will be erected along a beach located between Conch Shell and Von Radio, a landing site used by fishers in the past, and not on Prince William Street in Charlestown as previously planned by the former Minister of Agriculture. Jeffers noted that once the complex was constructed, it would revive the area and would serve all the island's fishers. The fishing complex would also be used to expand the cultural and social events offered by the Ministry and Department of Agriculture on Nevis. A freak event marred a routine fishing expedition by a group of Florida fishermen who had a narrow escape off the coast of the Dominican Republic when a 350-pound blue marlin leaped into their boat, almost impaling one of the men. A video of the event, which has already gone viral, garnering more than 400,000 views on YouTube, shows the huge fish hurling itself aboard the ironically named Marlin Darling, knocking one of the men to the deck and then thrashing around as the fishermen attempt to restrain it. The fishermen told CNN that they had planned to release the marlin back into the water but were unable to do so after it died due to self-sustained injuries. Instead, they reportedly handed it over to local authorities. For the JTV Caribbean News, Sean Rose.
And coming up next on JTV News. Ongoing assessment for primary and secondary students being introduced. Chief of Drugs and Pharmaceutical Services explains why you should return unused and expired medicines for safe disposal. And the Jeffrey Caines Arena, home of the Virgin Gordas Summer Jam, is expected to be covered by the end of this year.